been out on your grind, and I see it and I love it. I cannot make you mine, shorty. I'm not wasting your time. Pull up with my top down. You're the type of girl I like. All them other niggas only wasting your time, baby. I just wanna show you 'cause you one of a kind. I know you've been lied to. I can get beside you. That's if you decide to. Let me give you side to. Yeah, 'cause you fucking with a winner.
Welcome to another episode of Conversation with Lamp. I'm your host, James Lampy. And my guest today is a public speaker, a recording artist, a mental health advocate. And what was the last one?
Songwriter.
And a song. Oh, of course, a songwriter. This is Nia Dinero. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
And we not editing that out, even though I messed it up. We not editing.
Nah, that's natural. That's good. We don't need to edit that.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Like it's a beautiful day. I feel good. Was able to hit the gym this morning.
I went for a walk, and it was funny you talk about the gym. I was telling my cousin, I've been having a habit of taking these long walks and not drinking water. So I'm cramping up.
So look. I ended up getting a top of the year. I ended up investing in a personal trainer. And one of the things he told me is where a lot of people feel after you work out, you're immediately supposed to drink water. But he was saying vitamin C is the key, like orange juice, vitamin C, because he had this whole explanation why, but he said vitamin C helps with the soreness, helps kind of curb the soreness.
Oh, okay.
Huh?
Now,
not saying don't drink water after, but he's like, you immediately want to get some vitamin C in.
Because that's got a lot of sugar though, right?
I mean, it depends on where you're getting your vitamin C from. A grapefruit has all the vitamin C you need in a day.
But it's
just a grapefruit. I know it's not good, but
disgusting.
It's good for you.
So that's probably why it don't taste good.
Exactly.
All the stuff that tastes terrible is excellent for you. So,
but yeah, it's just a little tip.
So I wanted to get started because one of the things, and we're gonna start out. Because you told me you wanted to talk about your dad, your dad and your uncle, because unfortunately they passed. I wanted you to get a chance to elaborate more, like why you wanted to talk about that.
I wanted to talk about that because, and thank you because you did check up on me. I'm currently taking a break from social media, which I feel like everyone should do just in general, just for your spirit, for your mind, your energy, everything. But for me, life has been lifing, for the last probably like year and a half. I want to say 2 years. I lost my stepfather 2023 unexpectedly due to just health complications. And he was just a very significant person in my life, but in honestly in my journey, in my musical journey. Like he was a support system. He was always the one when I would get discouraged or, do a show or this, whatever. He was always the one that was like, all you need is the right person. All you need is the right person. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay in the gym. Do this, do that. And so, when he passed away, I used that energy. But that energy was what made me sad. But then it was also what motivated me at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew when he passed, I knew for a fact that he never would want me to quit because that's never what he gave me when he was alive. You know what I mean? Like what I remember the most is he owned his own HVAC company called Hawkins Heat and Air. His name was Mitchell Hawkins. And he was always on call. Like he was, that type of provider. He was always working, but he was present. You know what I'm saying? He was there. And the crazy thing is he was always on call. But the one time I had my first Kennedy Center performance, performed at the Kennedy Center, he happened to be the only one that was available, that was off. Everyone else had to, we're doing, so I don't know where my mom, my sister, I don't know where they were. But he happened to be the only one that was there. And I believe like that's what it was supposed to be. And that happened to be the last performance that he saw. But when I tell you like everything from him just being in awe of his stepdaughter being in the Kennedy Center, to taking him backstage of the Kennedy Center, to seeing my name on the door, Nia Dinero. Like, I'm grateful, you know, for moments like that. And so, you know, and here we are now. Just a few weeks ago, my uncle passed away, and he played the same similar role. You know what I mean? He was the type of person to, like I told you, my family, we have my aunts and uncles were very, very close. And me and my sister were very close with my uncle, to the point where sometimes they don't know this, but he would always, you know, kind of pull me to the side and have certain one-on-ones with me. You know what I mean? And those one-on-ones were always just very about my passion and about not giving up, and about, he called it zero gravity. I actually wrote a song. I haven't released it yet, but I wrote a song based off of one of our conversations, because he was talking about zero gravity. And he was talking about how a person who's in constant pursuit of something, like a rocket, you're going up. But as you're going up, when you're first going up, it's bumpy, it's rocky, you know, you're trying to break through, you know, to the next level, right? But once you break through to the next level, once you get up, you're literally like in zero gravity. That's whenever like all the things that once upon a time were hard, the resistance, you have less resistance, right? Okay. But at the same time, that's also like the most difficult part for a lot of people too, because some people are so used to moving with resistance that when you don't have resistance, you think something's wrong. You know what I mean? Or you can think, okay, this is too easy. And you can kind of, what do you call it? It's a term.
For what? The term for?
When you kind of think that you're not deserving of something, or you think that the work that you put in, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Everyone uses it.
What is it?
Imposter syndrome. Yeah. You think imposter syndrome. Yeah, you can give yourself imposter syndrome. But he was just saying, like, once you get to that zero gravity, there's no need for that, because you have worked hard. You know what I mean? Like, everything that's happening, when it does become easy, he's like, you fought all the battles. You know what I mean? You've gone through the test and you've been obedient. He was a very strong man of faith. My family is very, very strong in their faith. That's where I get my strength in my faith. And so he was always like, you've been obedient. You've been obedient. You've been obedient. Eventually, you're going to have a breakthrough. And when you break through, you break through. You break through the mess. You break through all the trauma. You break through. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect every day, but it does mean that you can settle in the fact that things are happening because you worked hard and you kept your faith. You know what I mean?
I noticed that you on several times you said that he said something about quitting. Did you almost quit?
A lot of times. A lot of times. Because I think when, you know, this journey, it's a journey. It's not a destination. Like, I consider myself a very intentional person, or I push to be very intentional. And, you know, there have been times, I'm not going to lie, there have been times where I literally asked God, when it was hard, like, okay, there has to be something else you want me to do. Like, if it's not music, show me something else. I would literally put myself in other spaces, filling out resumes for different things, or whatever. But in the end, another opportunity, another door would open up, or, you know what I'm saying? The Kennedy Center, or like I'm performing at, you know, the African-American museum and all these different things. Right. And so the journey itself, like I battled a lot with like identity. I battled a lot with kind of figuring out who I was as far as Nia and Brittany. You know what I mean? Like, what does that even mean? Who am I without the accolades, the accomplishments? You know what I mean? You know, being the one pursuing a non-conventional career path, being the one that's doing something that a lot of people feel like is impossible, when your younger sister or your brother is working in a government job and they have this quote unquote structure. You know what I mean? Like, for the older sister, that can be a lot. You know what I mean? Never jealousy or anything, but like that plays a lot on your mind, especially when you're someone who wants to win, not just for yourself, but for them. You know what I mean? For your family, for your mom, for your sister, for your brother, this and whatever. So, yeah, I think that if you're really doing something that you love, I honestly feel like everyone has a couple of thoughts of quitting when you know that it's bigger than yourself.
So what's the difference between Nia and Brittany?
Nia and Brittany. So I would say, so the good thing is, and I can say this now, I think the difference in Brittany and Nia are definitely more defined now. I wasn't always able to answer this question, but now, Nia is, when the hair and the makeup and all that stuff is on, and even now, like this is a mix of Nia and Brittany, right? Like Nia knows how to, well, Nia and Brittany both know how to show up. I know how to show up. And, but Nia is like, she's confident. Like she knows that she's a superstar, like in the most humble way, but but she's confident. She believes in representation. You know what I mean? Representation for the brand of Nia Dinero is very important, especially as a Black woman. I feel, and like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. It's very easy for everyone to be doing the same thing, but it takes a certain type of person to be able to say, yeah, I know everyone's talking about this topic, but how come no one's talking about this topic? You know what I mean? Especially as a female rapper or vocalist or songwriter. So Nia Dinero is just a little more bold, a little more direct. She's firm. She's confident. She's all that. Brittany is the same. Brittany is very confident, but Brittany taps more into the fact that she's an empath. And, so Brittany is a little more, honestly, introverted. I would say that, like introverted. Like after shows, people don't know, like after shows and this and whatever, I just love to get some food and go back home and just watch a movie, like chill out. I don't know. Like, but yeah, like Brittany's confident. I'm confident. I'm very, like I said, both intentional, but Nia Dinero is just a little bit more edgy. I'll say that. She's just edgy.
Let's go back to something you mentioned. You mentioned you took a social media break.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being a recording artist and, trying to build your brand, social media is actually, of course, it's important.
Right.
So how were you comfortable making that decision? Because a lot of people, when you're in the process of building, it's like you take that break, it feel like you're going to stop your momentum.
So, okay. So this is where my faith comes into play. Okay. Because moving within my faith, my idea on time is different. You know what I'm saying? My idea on delay, time, purpose, missing out on opportunities and all that is just a little different. For me, for example, I was listening to in my time of taking time and stepping away for a second, I happened to listen to a podcast by Jackie Perry and her husband. And the irony is that they had just taken a 6-month break, and they have a huge podcast platform, and they had mentioned exactly what you said. And they were saying when they chose to take the break, they had to consider the fact that they were going to lose a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like thousands of dollars. But at the same time, they also had to understand, based on their relationship with God and based on their faith, that by them taking that time, it was not going to stop what God had for them. You know what I mean? Like, rest is biblical, and that's just the reality. Taking rest is a part of the journey. It's a part of the process. And so that's just where my faith comes in. I have faith that when I take space to rest, to reset spiritually, emotionally, mentally, it's not going to interfere with the process that's already laid out by God for me and his plan for me. Because when I do step back on social media, I'm going to step back better. Okay. I'm going to step back more aware. I'm going to step back more with more clarity. Step back into it with more clarity, step back into it more, just able to kind of block out a lot of the distractions. If that makes any sense.
Oh, make perfect sense.
So yeah, I think to answer your question, you factor all that stuff in, but my faith trumps and my faith has to trump all of those types of thoughts. And I just have to trust and believe that, God knows what he's doing.
So when will you know it's time to come back?
So people don't know. I tapped in and out. I tapped in and out. Like, for example, I have a big opportunity, which I'm super excited about. I'm actually, I have an opportunity to speak to the youth in California. And I'm actually going to be speaking to them about their, just being bold in their faith within culture, whether it be the hip hop culture, entertainment, or just the culture, you know what I'm saying? And so they promoted me. So I felt the need to promote that. So, I put my post up and then just hit and just went away. And that's,
You talk about faith a lot, which is a great thing. Mm-hmm. But we know the music industry kind of, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you maintain your faith? Because let's be honest, it's a lot of things going on within the industry,
right?
And not even just the industry, just in life,
right?
In
right.
general, that's. Mm-hmm. Everyday life is just attacking our faith,
right?
So, mm-hmm. What do you do personally to keep your faith strong?
Oh, that's a great question. Doing what I'm doing, finding the space and creating space to take steps back. So I'll say for me, background of me, like I said, I come from a family of faith, went to church, all that. My mom was very big on making sure that my sister and I knew that she can tell us whatever she wanted to tell us about God. But if we didn't know God for ourselves, if we didn't know the word for ourselves, it just really didn't matter. She's like, as your mom, I can tell you whatever I need to tell you. But if you don't know it, it just doesn't matter. So my mom just instilled that in us to build a personal relationship with God at a very, very young age. And so in 2018, and I'll be honest with you all, in 2018, I had an emotional breakdown. I lived in Atlanta. I had an emotional breakdown. I was in a toxic relationship because I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't know. So growing up, especially in the Black community, even me being an empath, I was always told I was an empath. My mom is an empath. I was always told my grandma was an empath. And for those that do not know what an empath is pretty much like where a person who's not an empath has natural empathy for someone. An empath has it's like overload. It's like some people even say that there literally is like a chemical imbalance to where that compassion or whatever that is that gives the person compassion is like heightened, right? So an empath without boundaries, without being taught boundaries, without being taught how to affirm their no and their yeses and be able to not feel guilty, can just find themselves in a lot of spaces where they attract a lot of narcissists, honestly. Like they attract needy people. They attract people that need but don't know how to give. And so at a young age, I've always loved love. I've always been romantic. But at a young age, I was already tapped into what it felt like to be emotionally drained. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. At like 16, like I had my first boyfriend at like 16 going on 17. And so, I say all that to say, I had my emotional breakdown, and it was in that breakdown in 2018 where I literally had my moment with God where he was like, look, you and I are about to get, he pretty much asked me, like, do you want to keep going down this path? Do you want to keep moving forward? Because what I was doing, I was using Nia Dinero as a mask. I was saying to myself, like, even though, you know, because I didn't grow up with my actual dad, and this is before Mitchell came into my life, right? So my mom was a single parent. And, you know, I would be in the studio, but then I would be in a relationship. And then if the relationship didn't work out, I wouldn't even process. I would go straight to the studio. I was just always moving on Nia Dinero. And Nia Dinero was like my mask. Like, I don't need to work on my problems because I'm Nia Dinero and I'm always doing a show or I'm doing something, you know what I'm saying? And so, but everything catches up to you. And like my sister says, the body remembers trauma. Regardless if you try to flee from it or not, it's going to catch up, right? In 2018, I just had enough in the relationship that I was in. I was drained mentally, emotionally. I was trying to hold on to my faith. It was just a toxic situation. And in 2018 is when God pretty much was like, look, you know, he showed me two paths. And he was like, we can keep going down this path, but you're going to keep feeling worse. Or we can go down this path. And I couldn't see what was down the line. I couldn't see nothing. And he was like, I just need you to trust me. And I know some people be like, well, he really talked to you. But like, that's how real it really is. You know what I'm saying? And he was pretty much like, it's going to be hard, but I promise you in the end, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be beautiful. And since 2018, I've been on this journey with God. I wasn't even doing music. I wasn't Nia Dinero for 2 years. I went to therapy. I read, you know, I had a life coach who was also kind of like a spiritual advisor. And he was the first one to really throw books my way. And once he started throwing me books that were geared towards, you know, practical change, but also spiritual strengthening. Because one of the things he told me when I sat with him, he was like, you have limited belief. And I said, limited belief? Like, I believe in God. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I grew up in the church. Like, I know God. Like, I don't have limited belief. He's like, no, you have limited belief because you believe God. Like, you know God exists, but you're still building that personal relationship on his character and who you are and your identity in God, if that makes any sense. And so my faith grew once I put myself on that journey of figuring out who I was outside of Nia Dinero and outside of being just this pretty girl, or outside of being the basketball player, or outside of being all those things, and figuring out who I was in God, that my identity in God, if that makes any sense. And so from 2018 to now, you know, it was me taking that time that taught me that it how to take these breaks. I honestly don't fear, well, you know, you're an artist and you're taking a break and I don't think about those things. I think about being obedient as much as I can. I'm not perfect, but I just think like I can literally feel my spirit. I can feel myself feeling fatigued and drained. And that's when I know it's time for a break. It's time to get off social media. It's time to start reading. It's time to, you know, there are times when I can go without church for a minute. But eventually my spirit's like, okay, you're going to the gym, you're doing this, you're doing that, but something you need to balance something, you know what I mean? So the world is going to do what it's going to do. You know, I think one of the scriptures that I focus on a lot is just when the enemy and when the devil took Jesus up to the mountain too and was like, I can give you all these things. I can give you the riches. I can give you all this. Like he tried to tempt Jesus and was like, I can give you all this. And so I think what we're seeing in a lot of ways is the remnants of the enemy giving blessing, quote unquote, blessing a lot of people, right? And with that comes a lot of mess. Yeah. It comes with the stress and depression and drugs and alcohol and stuff. And even in that, like in my family, there's a lot of, I've dealt with, not myself, but I have aunts and uncles and this and that who struggle with addiction and drugs and alcohol and this whatever. So even just having experiences that I don't like has forced me to say, I've already experienced that. So I don't want to drink. I don't want to smoke because I've seen it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So when I think of the industry and people are like, well, you're a woman of faith and you're in this industry and you're doing this and don't do drugs and don't do this. It's like, look, I understand that a lot of people don't know what they'll do until they're in that situation. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm already actively living out my boundaries before. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah.
You've grown. Having this conversation, clearly, you take your mental health serious. Mm-hmm. You went to therapy and you had your improvements. So you can look back on, I'll say this. It seems like you were using, and I think you even alluded to it, like mm-hmm. you were using Nia Dinero to escape mm-hmm. a mm-hmm. lot of your situations.
Yes.
So have you ever looked back at Nia Dinero in a harmful way? Like in a bad, like, have you ever looked at that side of yourself in mm-hmm. a negative light?
Yeah. And I will say this. For a minute, I resented music, Nia Dinero, anything associated with this. You see what I'm saying? Because what we do know is that the game is messy. The game ain't really set up for people with hearts in compassion and self-awareness. And so people like me, oftentimes you got to get hurt to learn, And so when I would think of the times where I was hurt the most, it was always associated with the music industry, whether it was a producer, whether it was someone that I was doing business with, whether it was just stuff, especially being a woman in this game, mm-hmm. the stuff that you see. I literally had a manager at one point. I was in a group. I had a manager who literally, like, we would have practices at his house because I was in a male-female duo. Mm. And I think around this time we had a full band. So I wasn't like by myself, but we had a rehearsal, and this man is a married man. And like, we were downstairs rehearsing and we had to go upstairs. And so I was like the last one to go upstairs. And this dude was like literally trying to flirt with me in his house with his wife upstairs. And so these are things like I remember telling my partner, obviously, because he's my partner and he's a man. And I'm like, yo, like, this is that to my mom, like this and that. So had to get out of that. But these are things that I've experienced that are like, that weigh on, God, are you sure you want me to do this? Like, I know I'm gifted, but are you sure it's like this? Like, and so even in that, like, I'm reminded of the fact that, even Jesus wasn't in spaces that were always comfortable or conducive to who he was. You see what I'm saying? But his light still had to move into certain spaces. And so that's how I look at it. Until he tells me, or until he stops opening doors, I'm going to just keep moving within my purpose, because all that led to me even being on podcasts like this, where you're asking me these types of questions. You know what I mean? Like, you're not asking me messy, crazy questions, because that's not the energy and the vibe that I've given off to you. You know what I mean? So moments like this kind of bring me back to moments like you just asked, where once upon a time, I resented this. I didn't want to do this. There have been plenty of times where I really didn't want to do music. Like, it drained me, it stressed me, because I would always associate it with the mess, not fun, not the passion, not the fact that I'm just writing about love.
You lost your passion.
I won't say passion. I'll say, like, with me, my struggle, well, I'm not gonna say struggle. I'm gonna say, and my brother, shout out to my brother Sherrod, he told me, like, one of the hurdles when it comes to people like me is the fact that we're a jack of many trades. You know what I'm saying? I was jack of all trades, but jack of many trades in this case. So there's other things I'm good at And there have been times when I tried to force myself to pivot into other spaces. And the moments where I would get, I think, a little frustrated, but now I look back and I'm like, okay, they were looking out, were moments where I would try to pivot and they would catch me on it. My friends or my sister would catch me on it and be like, you're not pivoting because you're called to pivot. You're pivoting because you just are frustrated. And you don't want to do this and you're just irritated, you know what I mean? Or something's not happening as fast as you want it to happen. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but I'm good. I'm good with Nia now. She cool.
I'm gonna back up to something because I'm the empath things. You said you're an empath, right?
Empath. Mm-hmm.
That's always been kind of interesting to me because do you all look for people to pour into you because you pour out so much,
right?
So do you look for people to pour into you, or it's just like, hey, I hope I run into somebody that does? No,
so a lot of empaths, and this is from, I actually have a book on empaths because I was so tired of the relationships and the people that I kept meeting that I had to ask myself, why do I keep attracting these types of people, these types of men? Like, but that in itself, like, is a whole other layered conversation, because aside from the empath, then you have like childhood traumas, and then you have like background and all the other stuff. But as far as the empaths go, a lot of empaths are very caring, very compassionate, very in tune. We're very in tune. A lot of times we can feel what you're feeling without you even like, one of the things they say is that an empath can sometimes tell you things ahead of time. Mm-hmm. But if you're with someone that isn't, let's say you're dealing with someone who's very prideful, or let's say you're dealing with someone who's very set in their ways or whatever, and I come to you and I say, oh, or I need you to open up. I feel like you have a problem, like, open up. Is it because like your mom, and we'll go there, like, we get deep. Is it because like your mom and this and that and da da da? And if you're not in the safe space to do that, it can be like, what? Yeah. Like, you understand what I'm saying? People aren't ready. Not everyone's ready for that. And so, no, we don't go out and just look for the narcissist.
No. Hold on. Wait a minute. Not narcissist. Because I don't want you to just, I said somebody that pours into you, not a narcissist.
No, okay. So, well, here's the thing. Most empaths, and you can even research it, most empaths attract narcissists just by their traits. So an empath is like a perfect candidate for a narcissist, and vice versa, because an empath is a giver. Like, we pour out, and if they find an empath without boundaries, they're just going to pour and to pour and to feel and to sometimes try to think emotionally for you, and vice versa. A narcissist is a taker. They take without the intent of pouring back in, right? They need, and then there's different layers and different types of narcissists and so whatever. So yeah, but I would say the key to balancing that into shifting that as an empath really is doing the work. Like, we got to do a little more work than the average person, because we can naturally lead with emotion. I'll use myself. Because I naturally lead with emotion as an empath, I have to force myself to think more logical, if that makes more sense. I have to force myself to literally stop myself from thinking, putting my emotion at the forefront, which takes intentionality. But yeah, but the great side about that, though, is when you have a good empath, when you have an empath in your life and you create a safe space for them, like, for real, we can talk to you about anything. We could probably know things that you haven't even gotten to yet. or probably not even figured out yet, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever. Like, we're pretty dope.
I want to back up to something because you kind of dabble on it, but I want to go a little deeper because you said your stepfather came into your life. How old were you when he came into your life?
He came in my life, I want to say when I was like 2021. I had just went into my freshman year of college.
Oh, you were 20?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, okay, so this makes the question even more important. If he had came into your life, let's say when you were about 4 or 5, as a young lady, a young girl, basically, do you think his guidance could have helped you avoid some of those relationships you were in?
Yes. I want to say yes. So I'm gonna say, so look, I'll say this. If my stepdad was in my life, and we joked about this all the time, if my stepdad was in my life when I was 4, I wouldn't even be Nia Dinero. I wouldn't even be doing music. I would be a basketball player. I would be in the WNBA.
Really?
Like, no lie. Like music to some of my family is still a shock to them because basketball was my thing. Like, I had the natural ability to play ball. I grew up playing street ball with the boys. Like, I was in AAUs. I went to, like, I remember my mom put me in like Cheryl Swoops basketball camp. My first trip to Europe was me being nominated in high school for this people to people sports ambassadors program. It was like the Youth Olympics out in Holland. And my stepfather happened to be he was a basketball coach. Like, he coached all the kids and da-da-da-da. So we would always laugh and say, Pops, if you were in my life when I was in my prime, no lie, I would be in the WNBA because I was like that for real.
You know, I actually saw a video you playing.
But I was like, those videos do no justice.
You get wait a minute.
to
You get
where I was.
Because I saw that.
I was so like, I was serious. And so once again, I don't even know how the shift started. I knew going into college, because I just lost the passion. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I lost the passion. I think at the time I had self-taught myself and grew up playing street ball. So in high school, I was varsity all 4 years. Like, I went in as a freshman as playing varsity. And so to go from playing street ball to playing organized ball.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot. Coaches were yelling at me. It was it was a lot. Like, they were like, you're great, but you need to learn technique. And it was just a whole bunch of yelling and a whole bunch of stuff. And I just didn't like it. And I was just like, I ain't dealing with this crap. So I think if he was there to have that father that's like, yo, don't let him get to you. That's what I do think. I think if he was there, he would have been able to tell his daughter, don't let him get to you. Use that energy as this. He would have been out on the court practicing with me in the rain and this and whatever, like telling me when they say this, you do this. But because I didn't have that, it was very easy for me to be like, man, I don't got to take this crap. I'm leaving.
So you played 4 years in high school?
In high school.
Did you ever play? Did you play in college or?
No.
I
chose not to play in college because I knew you can't. Can we cuss?
Yeah.
You can't half-ass playing in college. Like, I couldn't go to college not really wanting to playing in college, because in college it's like, even if let's say I got on scholarship, because if I really, really wanted to do it, that could have been on the table. It's like, now I gotta play. Like, now this is it. You know what I mean? Like, and then if I don't want to play, I lose my scholarship and all other stuff. And I just lost the heart. And then that's honestly from basketball. Once I transitioned out of that, I started getting involved in the like stage production for theater and the newspaper. And that's honestly where like I tapped into my creativity and kind of set the tone for me to go to college and major in mass communications and broadcast, and I did theater and I did radio and that's how that happened.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Norfolk State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Behold the green and gold.
Did you finish or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's your degree in?
And mass communications,
Okay.
broadcasting.
I mean, I took a couple times, so I'm always impressed with somebody finish because.
Yeah, I finished. Look, and my stepdad played a part in that too. Like so the misconception, well, Norfolk State mass communications is actually one of the best mass comm program. Well, at the time, it was considered one of the best mass communication programs at Norfolk State. So we had to take this broadcast law class, like a law class. And it was one of those classes where you had no homework. You just had 3 papers. And if you failed one paper, that equaled 3 zeros, and you just failed the whole entire class. I failed that class 2 times. And by the second time, I literally was about to, I just was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Because he was known as being one of the meanest teachers. Like, even before you had his class, everyone talked about his class. He was one of those types of teachers where they're upper class and everyone would talk, oh, you got him. And so I was done. I was so committed to being done. Because I had to go to, at this point, I had to go to summer school because of this one class. And I remember my stepdad, I called my dad and I was crying. And I was like, I'm done. And he said, no, baby girl, you're going, because one day you're going to go on a little black girl's going to go on Wikipedia and they're going to look up Nia Dinero, graduated from Norfolk State University. And then that was that. And I ended up passing with like a B, I think like a B+.
Hey, as long as you pass.
As long as I pass. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. He had his ways, but he had ways of showing up when, it was definitely needed and necessary.
Have you, I'm going to do a little transition because you're a songwriter. Mm-hmm. Have you ever written any songs about him? No,
not yet.
No?
Mm-mm. I think because it's still new. It's still, I don't know. I don't know. I realize like I'm not a writer that can always write in real time, if that makes any sense. Like if something happens today, I need time to kind of process things for me to really sit down and to really write about it. Whereas to some people, they can literally this podcast and then they can go after this and just write a whole song based off this podcast.
So you got so would you describe your process as slow or how would you describe it?
I won't say slow. Like if I'm forced to, if I have to write it, if I'm on a timeline or a deadline, then I write it. You know what I'm saying? With me, when it comes to stuff like that, like those types of songs, writing about my stepdad or writing about a loss or this, whatever, I'm also a very conceptual thinker. So I'm always trying to think of how to say things in a unique and to where people get it, but it's just different. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But something like that, something with my stepdad, I feel it. It's coming because even when I do think about where I want to go with where I want to go in music moving forward, just being more transparent and being more, I don't know, layered is definitely something that I'm pushing to do. A lot of people feel like I'm already layered, but I still feel like there's things that I can kind of not be afraid to just say in my music.
Let me ask you. So you said you're a songwriter. Do you write for others?
I do.
Okay.
I do. But I do.
I wasn't going to ask no names. I wasn't going to do that. The reason I asked, because, okay. So I'm going to ask you this and then I'm asking another question. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about ghostwriters?
I have no problem with it at all.
Really?
No problem with it at all. It's art. Like at the end of the day, we're creating music. So
would you use
music?
I
have. Yeah. So with every one of my songs, and I'm gonna be straight up, With every one of my songs, I either wrote the whole thing or I co-wrote. But one thing I am is in the room regardless. Like nothing that I've ever written, no words that have ever come out of my mouth have been on the song. I have never not been in the room to say that's what I want to say, or I'm not saying that, or whatever. And so I've worked, the people that I co-write with, they're also my friends. And so they know what I'll say and what I won't say. They know that when they're writing for me, we ain't pussy bitching and hoe and all that, whatever. But we're giving you like bars, or we're saying something. Like I can talk shit without ever saying a cuss word in my music. But when you have people, when you're able, because here's the thing, it's with anything. Like you need collaborators. Collaborators are okay. You can't do everything by yourself. Writing a whole song by yourself, it can be very difficult.
So why is it so frowned upon with rappers then? Because with R&B artists, and like you can look in the credits and nobody says anything. It's like, right. Okay, such and such wrote the song, no big deal. But rappers, that's like a...
And so even in that conversation, like I think we have to, that in itself is a whole debate, because you have some people who are even debating what's the difference between rap and hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Then you got people who can do what do you call it? Ciphers, freestylers, just whatever. Like you got real people. Like I don't consider myself a freestyler.
Okay.
I write. Like you got to know your lane.
So you still
not
write?
everyone. Yes, I write.
No, because you know they got that punch in thing.
No, here's the thing. There's a lot of should I give you all the secrets? Most people, even when they're doing like these freestyles and stuff, they're rapping written stuff.
Oh, we know that.
You know
That's
what I'm
not
saying?
no big.
You know, everyone is told to at least have a couple of verses in your head for when you got to do something or whatever, right? But what I'm saying is there is a difference between the hardcore rappers. They're doing, you know, especially like Philly rappers, New York, you know, they're doing ciphers and all that. They have every right to be like, nah, like you ain't supposed to be having no ghostwriter because this is what we do. They ain't writing stuff. You see, you know what I mean? So, but then you have hip hop. To me, I feel like rap, hip hop to me is more commercial. It's like, to me, Drake is hip hop. To me, who, I don't know, just, I guess I have to just use like there's just a difference. There's just a difference. And I feel like some of the best songs and artists that you're listening to, they have collaboration. They're collaborating with other songwriters to create the hit. For a person to be able to hit 5 out of 5 hits, that's very hard. We're talking about structure. We're talking about pre-hooks. We're talking about the hook. We're talking about the lyrical content. We're talking about the production. Like, for a person to be able to write a whole album just by themselves, not saying they can't. Not saying they can't. It's just very time consuming and difficult.
So, because like I said,
my opinion,
because I don't know, maybe because of my age, you know, with the rappers, and they like, you know, that was just so frowned upon. So, but to hear you, because the only people that I know now, like, you know, Diddy back in the day, he never wrote his stuff, but But
we know that some people do not care to let people know it is what it is, because they were more focused on giving you the records.
Yeah, him and Dre. But Dre, like those two are actual producers, so you wouldn't look at them in the same league as a Snoop. Like, because even Snoop was talking about how Dre wrote. I'm sorry, not Drake. How Jay-Z wrote Still Dre.
Yeah,
but but Snoop said he wrote the whole thing. I didn't even know he wrote Snoop part. He wrote the whole.
But when you think about it, what I love about ghostwriters, though, is when you find out who wrote the song and you go back and listen to the song, if you pay attention, you can hear that artist style in the song. Like if you go back to Still Dre, it sounds like Jay-Z. Like it sounds like his rap. And so that's what I'm saying. They need to eat too. They got a job too. You know what I mean? The co-writer, the songwriter has a job too. Their passion is to write for others. You might have an artist, their passion is they're great performers. Then you might have somebody, you heard people talk about studio artists. You have people that are great studio artists, but they might not be great performers, live performers. You know what I mean? Or you might have someone who's not the best writer, but you can give them a song and they know how to perform that thing to where you would never, they know how to sell it. You know what I mean? So I think for me, it doesn't bother me because of my style of music personally. So I do hip hop, pop, and R&B. My sound has always been commercial. Always. I've never tried to be, I'm not the cypher. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not jumping in the cypher in Philly, in the streets of Philly. Like that's not me. Like that's not me. But you know, like for me, when I write, I'm gonna be honest, when I write, I'm always thinking sync licensing.
What's that?
A sync licensing is how people get their music in movies and video games and commercials. Like when I'm writing, I'm always thinking, is this catchy enough to be in a movie or a commercial? Or does this song title look dope on merch? Or how can I brand it? Right. And so I think one of my frustrations, or I won't say frustrations, one of the hardest things with being an independent artist sometimes is when your visions and your ideas are worth millions and they cost millions and you're still like when the ideas are just like, God, you gave me this vision, but I need the funds. Like how am I supposed to, but even in those situations, you still supposed to write it down, connect, collaborate. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. So
what would you prefer? Because if you sign, then you know they got the imprint. Whereas if you're independent, it's just you. So which one do you prefer?
So even that's layered. The industry's changed. Things are different. Mm-hmm. Back when you had artist development in the machine, I'll say that, you had more artists trying to get to the major label, trying to get to Columbia, trying to get to Def Jam, trying to get to Arista and all these different, that what people don't understand is there are entities, there are platforms out there that kind of run in the middle. You just gotta, you still gotta do the work. You still gotta attract, you know what I'm saying? You still gotta, in some spaces, I'm not gonna say everyone's like that, but in some spaces, the numbers are still important and follows are still important and all those different things. But I'll say like on one hand, like we said, the independence comes with its hardships because you're either financing it by yourself, or some people are getting investors and that comes with its own thing, or what comes with that. Then the label, you already see most people are trying to get out of their major label deal. So when you're someone like me, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to be in that situation. And I also understand that my vision and the types of things I want to do in my music, I may not be able to be independent without some kind of machine, somewhat, right? But that's also where entities like publishing come into play, like publishing companies. A lot of us don't know about publishing, and that's on purpose. They don't want us to know about publishing because the publishing is where the longevity, that's where the money is. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there are publishing companies out there. There are publishing companies that cater to the rising artists. You gotta be in the right spaces and kind of get the information to find them. You know what I mean? But that's my mindset right now. Like my mindset is to connect with, like, is to really lock in on the publishing side and that, because originally the publishing company was the original music industry before the industry was the industry, before you had Def Jam and all that other stuff. The publishing company kind of like geared you up and got you set up to be pitched to the label, if that makes any sense. So they're the ones like kind of linking you, there's like A&R departments. If this is what a good publishing company, there's like A&R departments to where they're getting your catalog and tight and da-da-da-da-da. They're helping you just kind of get your business in order. They're helping with branding. They're, pitching your music to sync, So when people say, and I heard this a lot within my career, oh, you need to attract, you want to get them to see you. You need to get your numbers. You need to track them. You need to, they'll see you. They'll come to you when they see you doing this, or this. Well, a solid publishing company can help you do that. They can help you kind of get things in order and get things popping, especially if I get a placement. And we claiming that. A placement, we claiming, Lord, it's going to happen. With a placement, man, I had a meeting with someone, and they said someone who had no numbers, no one even knew who they were, they got a placement. And literally.
What's a placement?
So a placement is when you get a song to land in a movie or a video game.
Okay.
But here's the thing, you get the residual income. You're getting a check in your sleep. That means every time they play it, if let's say I had a song, let's say Meditate, or let's say, what's the song you like on Red Cup, on Gray Area?
I can't remember, because I'm gonna be honest, I haven't listened to it in a while.
So let's say,
and I'm gonna get back to that, but go ahead.
So let's say Red Cups, which is a song on Gray Area, but let's say Red Cups was placed in, what's your favorite show?
I don't watch TV.
What's your favorite show? Sanford and Son.
Okay.
That means every time Sanford and Son plays, I get a check.
Oh.
Like in royalties, and you know what I mean? And so when you do that, just getting a placement in itself builds that notoriety. It then becomes like, who is this person? Oh, they're on the radar. We need to look out for them. Some people are literally can ride off of that one placement. They can do shows, they can do tours, they can do whatever just off of one song.
Oh, we know that.
We know this.
What's my Sir Mix-a-Lot? Baby Got Back.
Exactly.
He's still making money.
Yep.
He literally.
Yep.
I saw something like a couple weeks ago. He's still touring with that one song.
With that song, and it was in commercials and all that other stuff. Man.
So look, I'm glad you asked me about that, right? Because I'm gonna be honest. I told you, it's been a while since I listened to that album. So let me ask you this as an artist. So let me tell you about me, right? I listen to a lot of music. A lot of music. But I don't listen to albums. Constantly shuffling, right?
Right.
So you as a person, because I know an artist who's putting a album together, like track listening, sequence, that stuff really important. But hearing me say, hey, I don't really listen to albums, I'm kind of just listening to songs. Does that make you like, well, damn, am I really putting too much thought into this album sequence? Because I have to really know the person to listen to the whole. Like, I'm telling you straight up, if I don't know you personally, it's a good chance I'm not listening to that whole album. Because I just like my music.
Right.
So how do you feel about that?
I love it.
Really?
I love it. Like, I love knowing that when I tell somebody, when they ask me what do I do, and I say, oh, I'm a recording artist, I already know in the back of my mind they're looking at me like, another one. Like, Yeah, your stuff's probably sound whatever. Like, I just already know they're already looking at me as just a number.
Yeah.
But I know I'm so confident in my product that once they listen, all they got to do is listen because of what we just talked about, because of me taking the time to say things differently, talk about different things. Of course, production and but I'm just very confident in what I'm putting out. So no, it doesn't bother me because I feel like people feel that way because of what we've done. Like, we did this. Like, the artist, no, not the artist. I won't even say that. I'll say it's just a testament to how far that we've strayed from how things used to be and what they can still be. You know what I mean? As far as quality work, like as far as concepts, as far as not stop thinking about who's writing what, just write good music, create records, put together a project that makes sense. So no, it doesn't bother me.
Somebody told me something, right? I think it was at work. I can't remember where I was at, but we was having a conversation about making music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, because things are like you can make beats and stuff on computers, you can make an album in what, days?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas back in the day, in the 70s, you had to actually get people to play the instruments and be in the studio actually playing it. And what somebody told me was, well, you know, that's why people feel music more back then. Now, because they had to put a lot of effort into it. I was like, damn, you know what? I agree with that.
No, it's true. It's true. I was actually on Sunday, I was coming home from church and I just was listening to the Isley Brothers, right? And I just started listening to all the music during that time, and it just felt good. Like, when you listen to it, you just digest it differently. It sits on your mind and your spirit differently. It's not, you're not listening to it and feeling like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it was just good music. And obviously, a lot of them spoke and were very direct on love. It was rooted in love. They talked about love. They weren't afraid to say the word love. They weren't afraid to make love. They weren't afraid to like create love. Like, it was just, that's what it was about. And so, yeah. But as far as putting together albums, I'm very, very hands-on. And I was very, very hands-on with the Gray Area. Very. Like, from cover art to track listings, every song that you hear on my Apple, Spotify, I've picked every single song myself.
How do you know what song goes first?
It's a synergy. It is. Like, no, it's like a sonic, like sonically, it just has to make sense. Like, when you're listening to songs, sometimes people do their track list based on different things. So sometimes people will base it off of literally if a song is like drum heavy. Let's say it got like 808s or something like that. They might pair it with another song that might have 808s, or they might have a song that has more of like an atmospheric, more like synths and that type of feel. So they'll pair it with another song that kind of has that feel. They might not want to put an 808 type track underneath a track like that. But for me, especially when it comes down to an album, I'm always thinking a story. I'm thinking, in that regard, I was thinking of telling a story, right? So in a lot of the stories I create are based off of relationships. So the first song, which is Gray Area, is me kind of getting into this relationship, talking to him, and pretty much, you know, being done with the relationship, finding myself, going to therapy, you know, and just wanting to get away. And then from there, it goes into First Off, and that's kind of like where I'm stepping out into this confident, bold, you know, like nothing can stop me type energy. And then it goes into, I believe, Make It Make Sense. So that's kind of like when I'm back on the scene, but it's like, look, I'm here, but I ain't just entertaining just anything. Like, you got to make it make sense, because I'm not for the shenanigans. Then it goes into no cameras. And that's pretty much like me having that moment where even if you're moving forward, you know, healing isn't linear. So you have moments where you got to kind of go back and reflect and kind of put the rest of the pieces together. So that's no cameras, kind of talking about a personal relationship and getting out of that and just kind of healing from that. Then it goes into awkward silence. And awkward silence is a dope one because it's pretty much, which we've all gone, well, most of us have gone through, when you finally are done with that person. Even if you guys are like, we're like really, really good friends, but then there's like that moment where you guys don't even know what to say to each other anymore. Like, you don't know, you guys may have been very close, but now you guys are just in this space, you know, where everyone says, oh, we'll be friends regardless. We'll be friends. That crap. That's not true. Yeah, that's awkward silence.
That bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, that bullshit. Yeah. Like, that's awkward silence. Like, yeah. And so you already see. So for me, it just has to tell a story.
What would you say the hardest song was to write on the album?
On Gray Area? I'll say the hardest song. Probably First Off. I'll say First Off. Because and my friends laugh at me all the time, because going back to that Nia versus Britney, where Nia is just very confident, Britney sometimes has to be told, we already know you're humble. We need you to talk shit. Like, my friends would literally be like, okay, enough of that. Like, it's okay. Just say it. So First Off, like, believe it or not, First Off, it's not hard, but it's always fun to do tracks like First Off because I get to talk my shit, where the Britney in me would be like, oh, you know, I don't need to say nothing. Like, it is what it is. They'll see without me having to say nothing. So yeah.
So let me ask you this: if let's say you had the choice, right? Mm-hmm. You could actually be a megastar.
Okay.
Like Beyonce level.
Okay.
Or you could be an artist. I'm trying to think of somebody. Let's just say an artist whose music, and before I say this is no slight to Beyonce. Whose music is timeless, and you could perform your music the rest of your life and make money.
But no one knew who I was?
But nobody. You had like a nice following, as opposed to the Beehive.
Okay.
Which one would you choose?
Option 2.
Which one was option 2?
To be able to do what I love, make money, travel the world, this and that, but not be like crazy phenomenon.
President of your friend. Why is that?
I think because of like how I live my life now without being famous. Mm-hmm. You know, they say like money only enhances who you are.
Yeah.
And I think it also enhances the things you do too. You know how many people that have millions and millions of dollars, and this is no disrespect and this is no knock, but there are people literally who have millions and millions and millions of dollars who literally will only go to Jamaica and Bahamas. That's it. Like, they won't go to Africa. They won't go Switzerland. They won't go, like, they you know what you know. You see what I'm saying? Money doesn't change. Me and my friend was just talking about this. Like, money doesn't change the mindset, right? It only enhances what's already there, good or bad, right? So I think because I have made it up in my mind that my life doesn't start the moment I become a Beyonce, which I love. I love Beyonce. Come after me. I think the fact that I've made up in my mind that I'm going to live my life, like, it doesn't start the moment I hit a point. That has helped me, honestly. Like, that has helped me understand my journey, understand purpose, understand what's important. And it's not because for me, I already travel. I travel. I know I have very beautiful relationships, friendships. I know how to treat myself. Well, I'm getting better at it. My mom yells at me all the time. She's like, you work hard and you don't do shit for yourself. Like, she's like, that's a sin. She's like, that's not good. I'm like, oh, yeah. So anyway, but I'm getting better at that. But and I think because of my experiences with money and because of my family's experiences with money, of course, I want to be financially stable. I want to be able to, because you didn't say all the detail. I'm just assuming I'm good. Like money is great. Traveling, like I'm able to do what I love. I just can probably also go to the grocery store and people won't care, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And to me, that's good because at this point, I would get it, and I have the right people to show me where to invest my money, and I would just honestly enhance the life that I have now. honestly.
I want to close with this. I want to ask you a fun question because we talked about writing for people and you're a songwriter. If you could pick any artist to write a song for, who would it be, and what type of song would it be?
I think an artist whose style whose style would be similar would be her. The artist Her.
Okay.
I think I could write, because I love conversational records. Like, she's very conversational. Like, when she writes in a way that's like, oh, she's just talking. You know what I mean? She just has a dope way of structuring her music and saying things and getting it out there. So I would definitely love to work with her. I love how she's branded. I love how she's represented. I love how she represents Black women in this game. So yes, I would definitely love to work with her.
What type of song would it be?
See, Her is dope in a sense of she has that song. When she did that song called Slide with YG, that let me know that she got a little bit she got that edge to her too. So I honestly think that I can write her something that kind of does a little bit of the vocals and a rap.
Okay.
And get her like a verse. I think that'd be dope. Okay. Or I can get on the verse. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, I really thank you for doing this. It's been an honor, pleasure. Because it's fun. The funny thing is, we met at Broccoli Fest.
We did. That's what I was gonna say. Even when we were talking about the album, and you were talking about you got to know people before you listen to the album. That's even a testament to the vibe that you got from me, because after we met is when you listened to my album.
Yeah. Because I like
vibe.
Yeah, because I like how you got a really good spirit. So I was like, you know what? I like her. Like, I want to listen to what she got going on. So it's a really good album, and make sure I want people. It's called The Gray Area, right?
The Gray Area.
Okay.
Yep.
Make sure you check her album out because it's really good. And I like to say I think I got a good ear for music. I think I do.
No, it's good. He ain't just saying that. It's good. And I also have a new single out called Side 2.
What's it called?
Side 2.
What is it about?
It's about love. It's about the other side of me and love.
I'll have to check it out. I'll make sure I check it out. But before we end it, please make sure to tell the people like how they could follow you, how they could check out your music.
Yes. Definitely follow me on Instagram, which is Nia Dinero, NIADINERO. Also follow me on my website, niadinero.com. And also be on the lookout because I am finishing up my book, which is going to be called Soul Strong. And I'm really excited about this because it's going to be like a guide to, help guide people into building their faith through fitness. If you know anything about me, fitness is faith, fitness, creativity, traveling, like that's my vibe. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. So once that comes out, I'll definitely have a separate email for that, an email list. But yes, Nia Dinero, everything Nia Dinero, NIADINERO. Follow me.
Well, again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And also, all the best with the book.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure y'all get it.
Okay. And I would like to take this time to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. I truly appreciate your support. You can follow me on Instagram at conversations_with_Lant. My Facebook is also Conversation with Lant. This episode of the podcast will be on YouTube and Apple. Yeah, Apple and
Let's go all out. Let's go all out.
Yep. So again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for everyone who listens and supports. I truly appreciate your support. Have a great day.
First things first, I got you dismissed all them honeys, dummies, playboy bunnies, those wanting money, those the ones I like, and I know you've been patient, so no hesitation for me to elevate the situation. I rise, my flight leaves a 9, wine and